Hello friends and subscribers, welcome back to Daniel's Tech World here on YouTube. My name's Daniel Rosehill and this is one of my YouTube channels, the one focused on stuff related to technology. And I want to do a quick video today regarding Kdenlive, which is the video editing software I've been using for many years, very popular among Linux users. And I want to show today how you can set up a custom project profile in order to put together a podcast with like a static image on the screen, right? So we're making a video, but there's really not really video content per se. So this is, I've just brought into my timeline here one graphic for the background of this podcast and one MP3 file of me narrating it, right? And then in order to just kind of make this into, as I said, kind of and I assume people know what I'm talking about when you have these kind of podcasts up on YouTube, but there's just nothing moving in the background. So I don't know if there's a word for that, like static podcast or whatever. So I've just lined these two things up. Now, if you use your standard 25 FPS profile, think about this. The video portion of this does not need to update 25 times a second. In fact, it doesn't need to update at all because it's going to remain the same throughout the project. Now, I don't know if there's a way to do a 0 FPS project. I haven't tried that. But what I did is create a 1 FPS profile, and that reduced the file size by about 5 times by reducing the unnecessary, as I said, 25 times updating the exact same image per second doesn't make any sense. To do that, go into project settings, and you can filter on FPS. So by default, the lowest FPS is 12. So what I did was create a new profile called podcast 1080p. I did this by clicking on settings, and this is where you can create totally new profiles. So you click on the plus button here to create your new project profile. I'm not going to do that, or I'll do it for demonstration. I'll call it podcast 2. So I'm going to call this 1080p podcast. So the resolution is going to be 1920 by 1080 because it's 1080p, or I could choose to downsize it to save even more on the file size. And then where you have frame rate here, 25/1, you just want to change that 25 to a 1. And this will create a 1 FPS project, okay? Then you click on the save button and it's saved as 1080p podcast. So close out of this, and then I have as an option to go in for my 1080p podcast, and you just need to save the project whenever you're like updating this. So I'm just going to go for just going to call this I don't know, podcast episode 3, saved, reloading clips. And unfortunately I have to go through this whole shebang again for some reason on this particular occasion. Okay, so now when I want to render it, it should be a lot quicker. I've just stretched out the footage, and one thing I've learned to do from doing this wrong so many times is just make sure you have no hello and welcome back artifacts on your Kdenlive timeline. Click on edit, render, and then I'm going to go for just the usual full project and render to file. And what you should see is that it's a lot quicker, right? We're rendering a 30-minute project, 30 minutes of video in just about 1 minute. So when I was rendering at 25 FPS, which as I said was pointless, that was more like it was more like 30 minutes, or at least runtime. So this saves a bunch of time, saves on the file size, and is probably the better way to do it if you want to create just a podcast, static image podcast using Kdenlive Video Editor. Hope that was helpful, guys. Thanks for watching. Until the next video here.